Welcome to another edition of the 21st Century Reformation Hour. I am Herman Otten, pastor of Trinity Lutheran Church, New Haven, Missouri, and also editor of Christian News. I've just completed setting up the next issue of Christian News. It's now on its way to the printer. Tomorrow morning it will be printed and then mailed out. You are getting a preview now several days earlier than most of the regular readers of Christian News. Our book of the month our book of the week this week is the book entitled What in the World is Going On? Here is the book, published by Northwestern Publishing House. What in the world is going on? Excellent analysis of what's going on in the theological world today. Our lead story is entitled Two Rivers to Freedom. I hope you can see the pictures there. I have here the Elbe River near Dresden, Germany, and then the Mississippi River at St. Louis, Missouri. The name of the book is Two Rivers to Freedom. Unfortunately, not too many in our Lutheran Church Missouri Synod ever even heard of the book. Here's the book. Here you can see my beat-up copy. It was published originally in 1980. I read it out loud to our children all the way here from New Haven to Perry County, the site in the section where the Saxon Fathers came, and then all the way on the Saxon into Smoky Mountains, the park there. I read it again some years later to my wife after completing an Ironman triathlon in Claremont, Florida. 18 hours, she wouldn't let me stop. She was so enthralled with the book. What's the book about? It is a historical romantic novel of the Saxon Fathers coming over to this country. Let me just read to you what it says here in front. A historical romantic novel about courageous Saxon Christians emigrating to America in the 1800s, up the Elbe River in Germany to the sea, across the wide ocean in small ships, then up the Mississippi to Altenburg and St. Louis. Now what's different about the book? This is a book I can guarantee you will captivate the interests of children, also teenagers, and adults also. It is so fascinating. It has romance in it, and it really presents that whole coming over to this country. Most important of all, it emphasizes why they came. Two rivers to freedom. Up the Elbe, or down the Elbe, up the Mississippi on riverboats. By the way, I also, in this current issue of American Profile, they have an article on Rolling in the River. And there you have one of the riverboats. See, they came to New Orleans, changed the riverboats, and they come here. I had that all in the paper this week, and why that book is so important. But now, what I'm proposing now, that we make a movie out of this. I've watched through all the Little Prairies, House on the Prairies here, Laura Ingalls books. I did this last year, a little longer than that. If they can do it, there's no reason why the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod couldn't do that with this book. We are able to get, unfortunately, only a limited number of copies printed, because that's what the copyright owner says. I only give you permission to reprint 50 copies. So we have to sell it now for $28.50. But if you can get it someplace else cheaper, fine. But here, that's what book we have available. The next issue we have here, article here, romanticizing the womanizing tyrant. Who is that? That's the Stephan that's mentioned here, and here is the book. It just came out. It's called In Pursuit of Religious Freedom. Now, what they try to do is rehabilitate him, that he really wasn't the tyrant that Walther pictured him to be, the one who favored hierarchy. Well, anyway, we have comments on that, different reviews, my analysis of that. Then over here, Tapestry or Travesty. That again was sent out by a Lutheran Church Missouri Synod's Commission on Theology, basically a fine book. But it's taken apart by Matthew Becker, who was the man against whom I filed charges of false doctrine. And again, here in this analysis, why he criticizes this, he reveals his pro-evolution, pro-women ordination views. Down here we have judge to rule on this case in California. That is to come in September 10th. Why do you hear nothing about it anywhere else? You don't get it from the official press. You don't get it from the organized press. Why? That's a good question to answer. This is a big case. They have spent, Pastor Cackshaw says, over $1 million in mission funds to file a lawsuit against these 4 women pictured here. 2 of them are black women, and that is now to come up on September 10 in California. Pastor Cashon will be there. Well, going down to the Times page, just a kind of a few little items here that we have on keeping you up to date what's going on in the modern church world. Here's the movie Avatar preaching shamanism, all different things here about Obama and Muslims and all that controversy that's now been going on. You'll get that firsthand there. And I have here the editorial on why we want a movie on Two Rivers to Freedom, and then A Time to be Frugal. That last convention, you won't read about it anyplace else, cost $4.3 million. I argue here, if they have $4.3 million for one convention, why can't they spend a little bit of money on this book putting out in a movie, Two Rivers to Freedom? Over here, one called Kuhn, Schmidt, and Forkey. What's that about? Well, the boards are not going to meet, and they're going to elect chairman. So I'm suggesting here that they elect President Kuhn, had been President of Missouri Synod, chairman of the board of directors, and Al Schmidt, who happens to be an author of several books, several of them we sell. By the way, folks, if you don't have a copy of our resource guide or catalog, you're certainly available to get one. And there in this catalog we have 4 books by Dr. Alvin Schmidt listed. One's on Islam, one's on cremation, and various other books of great interest. He has been elected to the board, and I'm suggesting that they vote him in as chairman of the board of directors of CPH. And then also the council presidents will be meeting, and then here I suggest this one district president, Terry Forkey. I don't really know these people that well, but his district had several good resolutions. There are others too that they could have in there. And then here I have an article, The Bible Contains Myths. That's taken from Dialogue magazine, where they come right out and say, here's an issue of Dialogue magazine where they say there are myths in the Bible. Let me just show you I got another article on Bonhoeffer, but here in the two inter pages, 7 and 8, the middle pages, I have here the beautiful city of Dresden. Pictures that I happen to have in my files of Dresden, and we have that in here just to show you what our Saxon fathers left. They didn't come as most for economic reasons. They came for religious reasons. Two Rivers to Freedom. And here we have pictures of what Dresden was like, and even what it's like today. A beautiful city. I was there a few years ago. I stayed in the homes, we would call it a mansion, that was there built maybe a year or so after the Saxon fathers left. Very similar to other homes. That's what they left, and they came here to the bush. To show you what the homes were like when they came, I took several pictures from A Century of Grace, Missouri Synod 1847 to 1947, to show you the vast contrast. So here you have these Saxon fathers leaving a relatively fine place, coming for religious readings. It's a great story, folks. Two Rivers to Freedom. Well, there are many other things in the book, in the paper this week. One on videos, the video holism talks about these children sitting there at their computers, why that is so dangerous for them, and why you parents should give them wholesome literature to read. Well, folks, we'll be seeing you next week. And in closing, what I want to just mention to you, the Bible passage that we have in our lead is Pastor Walter's favorite Bible passage. There we have the one where he says that we are a chosen people, a holy people, called out. Who was he talking about? The Christians. Not any particular race or nationalities. All Christians. And that's what Walter fought for. God be with you, folks. See you next week.